Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen confirmed that he will not seek a third term as party leader at the upcoming April Congress, declaring mission accomplished. It's after leading the DA into the government of national unity. Steenhuisen says he's now pivoting his full attention to the cabinet. He remains the Minister of Agriculture, challenged with ending the foot and mouth disease crisis currently threatening our livestock industry. But as the race for the DA's top job officially begins, what does this mean for the stability of the GNU and perhaps even the future of the Democratic Alliance? Joining us now for analysis is political analyst Harald Pakendorf, who joins us now. Harald, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it as well. We were just speaking, I suppose, a little bit off air. It's a 7-page document, 7-page speech that was issued yesterday by the current leader of the Democratic Alliance, John Steenhuisen. You, however, say not necessarily surprised by, actually you were surprised by him saying he's actually going to be stepping down.
That's right. Well, the interesting thing is it's a lengthy speech, but he didn't want any questions.
Yeah.
He didn't expand at all, which tells you there is something else. He was afraid they'd be asking him a question he might have to answer, and then he gives away the game. Yeah. Look, 6 weeks, 2 months ago, there was no question of a leadership struggle in the DA. So something must have happened in the interim.
Yeah.
Remember his possible successor, front runner at the moment, Hill Lewis from Cape Town, unknown quantity up here.
Yeah.
I mean,
very.
Cape Town is far away for us here in Gauteng. In public said, I won't stand for the leadership as long as Steenhuisen is there, so just leave me out of this. And then suddenly, Steenhuisen resigns and says he will make the announcement. And the one he did was obviously saying what a good leader he was. And he certainly turned around. Remember, you may not remember, but at the last, not the 24-19, but the election before, the ANC stumbled a little and then they picked up again. And obviously, his leadership had something to do with that, and he was bragging a bit about that. So the question arises, what now for the DA? Well, it's very bad for the image, and I think that if you're going into a local government election, you don't want the public perception, which I think was damaged by under the last few months under Steenhuisen. Remember that we think of the DA as being able to run administratively everything very well that they do, and
particularly in local government.
Local government, they do very well, and you think of the DA. Your perception is it's a clean party. It's not like the ANC or somebody else where there's corruption and scandals and rumors. No, the DA is different. And now suddenly, under Steenhuisen, he has a minister fired, and then the minister fights back, and they go to organizations outside of the DA to solve their problem. And then suddenly, and there are questions of mismanagement, and there are questions of misuse of public funds and party funds and private funds. In the case of Steenhuisen, his own private account. And then suddenly the perception of the DA shifts slightly from what you had, this set of clean men and women.
So do you think that's what caused it? It was those sort of negative spins, shall we say, over the last couple of months that may have pushed him in this direction, whether it be influenced by the other leadership in the party, of course.
Yeah, I believe that that's right. That we obviously don't know, but it's quite clear that the leadership in the DA isn't a single person leadership, it's a group leadership. And from that, within that group, there was pressure, I think on two fronts. First of all, what we've just talked about, the perception around the DA. And the other one is that the question which arises, and that if you think of South Africa, you think the ANC runs South Africa. But that's not true. It's also the DA and the Freedom Front and so on. And yet the perception is that the ANC, the DA doesn't speak loudly enough within the government, therefore we don't hear them. And you don't think of the DA as being part of the government of national unity, which brings us to the question of what happens to the government of national unity?
Yes.
I would think that in the interim that it would stay because
does it stay until April, or does it stay up until the next, or until the local elections, or does it stay all the way until the end of this administration? Do you think?
I certainly it will stay till the end of the in November, I would think. I think Luthuli House is smiling when they look at what at the mess the DA is making for themselves.
Sure.
And part of the reason for Steenhuisen going is certainly that they want to do this leadership change well enough ahead of the local government elections so they can settle down and have a slightly different approach. And they might do very well in the local government elections. They not giving enough attention is a plan at the government of national unity level to reduce the number of political parties that are represented in local government by simply saying you have to get at least 1% of the vote before you can sit in a local council, which will cut the number of parties sitting in local councils by at least half, which should at least make for some stability, and it creates an extra group of voters for whom the DA and the ANC might want to go. So that'll be an interesting one for the DA to work on. But they would hope that with the leadership change, which will be in April, the elective conference is April. So Steenhuisen does he leave immediately? Is there a part-time leader for the time being? And that's not entirely clear.
Yeah. I think that's going to be absolutely fascinating. Is it really mission accomplished, though, for the DA? In terms of, John Steenhuisen did lead the DA to getting into the government of national unity, no matter what misgivings we may have with regards to him, with regards to how the ANC had their hand in basically getting them there as well.
I think certainly Steenhuisen had an important role to play, and did play in the advance that the DA made at the polls. But underestimated very much is that the kind of electoral system we have is key to what we should be talking about. Because the electoral system, proportional representation, fundamentally means that no party ever gets a majority. Never.
Yeah.
So it might be an ANC-led government, or it might be a DA-led government, but the ANC will never run the country on its own again, and the DA will never run the country on its own. Mid to late 20s is what you can expect from the parties. I would think that the ANC will be lucky if they get 30% at the next general election, which means the DA, if they continue growing, but they seem to have a problem getting beyond 25%, they get stuck there. So the ANC might, in my view, at the moment, 3 years ahead of the election, might still be the biggest party, but certainly they were much weaker than they are now. Which raises the point of coming back to what we said earlier, do you hear the voice of the DA in the government of national unity, or don't you? Well, we had this odd thing earlier this morning where the Freedom Front said, yeah, we're unhappy about a particular step the government has taken. But the Freedom Front is part of the government.
Exactly.
They should have raised that point inside the government, not come and complain outside. So there is a dichotomy being in the government of national unity.
Just as a final one, perhaps, if we get to it, is there a dearth of leadership in the DA? Because there'll be question marks if Jordan Hill-Lewis is really the right person for it on a national scale. We've just noted.
And he's young. He's not 40 yet.
Precisely, right?
Yeah.
Then you have Solim Simang, who's a possible look at as well. You still have Siviwe Kwagube, who is also in the government of national unity, who perhaps could raise their hand. That could be anybody. But it's not just the Democratic Alliance. It really is the political parties across the board where you worry that beyond the current leaders, look at EFF, look at BOSA, right, for example, too. Look at ANC. You look at the IFP, you ask questions perhaps there too. The Freedom Front Plus as well. Beyond the current leadership, do we have a dearth of leaders that are springing up after that they aren't really visible, they aren't really there?
Yeah, we don't know about them. I mean, that's absolutely true. And obviously the ANC will face a leadership election because Cyril Ramaphosa has to go, and they'll stick to their constitution. There are rumors already of bringing outside people in to help with the leadership of the ANC. But that's 3 years to go, 3 and a bit years to go. So it's a bit early to speculate. A lot can happen. I mean, look at Steenhuisen 6 weeks ago. Who would have said he would have gone? Yeah. So 3 years is a long, long time in politics. The party, of course, which has the most changes is the MKP. I mean, Zuma's. I mean, it's difficult keeping track as to who's who. Tomorrow, somebody else will come.
Already just today, another change.
Yeah,
right?
Isn't that the Freedom Front? Well, 3 years from now, we'll see. It's just too far away from now. But the DA should elect a new leader now in April. And well, for the sake of the DA, I would advise them to, if there is a credible black personality who has the strength to say yes or no to the present leadership group, then that's where they should go. Because, you know, don't forget 80% of the voters are black.
Yep.
And the DA's other problem is that the perception is that it's a white party, which it isn't, of course. It's a very multiracial party. But it's a middle-class party, and you have to reach beyond the middle class to the poor who are really, really struggling. Yeah. And about who you hear the DA not saying enough about that vast section of our population.
We haven't even spoken about the influence of Helen Zille on the DA, which of course is a big thing all on its own in terms of the leadership structure.
Absolutely,
for the party as well. Harald, thank you so much for the time. Really, really appreciate it. Please do join us in studio again. We love to have your insights as well. And I think with the leadership race, as we head towards those local government elections, perhaps even as we just head to April for the Democratic Alliance, it's already going to get very interesting. So really, really appreciate your time. Political analyst Harald Pakendorf joining us in studio as we talk about the Democratic Alliance's leadership race, which ultimately begins in earnest, possibly concluding in April. Let's get a sense of what your weather looks like. We'll be back with more news for you at the top of the hour.